You ever read a takedown video about another creator that goes over so poorly and is so thoroughly debunked that you immediately lock all of your socials, write a pinned comment calling your detractors debate nerds, and then immediately stop engaging with or defending your points? Well, no, you haven't. Unless, of course, you're DJMuel, a fresh new up-and-comer in the you can't be racist towards white people, nanners is a slur field of ostensibly leftist thought online. Now, I know I titled this video DJMuel Doesn't Know What an Ally Is, and I probably made a very inflammatory thumbnail to go along with it. But to be honest with you, I'm not interested in the bulk of Muel's video. Most of Muel's video about Xander Hall is either stuff I had heard about in passing or stuff I had never heard about in relation to Xan. This is something I want to stress. I am not a Xander Hall fan. I don't think I've ever watched his stream. I have played one game of Among Us with him back in 2020, and he got really mad, and that's the extent of my interactions with him. His editor, Cherry, follows me on Twitter, which I don't really know why she does that, but hey Cherry, thanks. So I left a comment on DJMuel's video telling him that I was interested in talking to him on stream about this part.
An ally is not someone who uses marginalized people in their community to win arguments or support their biases. It's really funny because in my video that I did on Vosh, I had so many people in my comments telling me that it's good and correct to criticize Blair White and Candace Owens. And no, for a start, if you're cis and white, it isn't your place to focus on those people. It isn't your place to tell trans people and black people who best represent their community. Of course, those individuals mentioned are wrong about a lot of stuff, and it is an ally's duty to understand that marginalized groups are not monoliths, and that these people don't represent the communities as a whole. No, if you focus on that stuff instead of amplifying and signal boosting and supporting other creators who do that work, you are certainly not an ally. It is absolutely not for cis people to say that a certain trans woman who disagrees with you is unhinged and bad, and then use the example of impressionable people who are already predispositioned to support you in your community in order to say that they are wrong.
In my comment and some of the replies, I made it clear I was looking for a good faith discussion, not a debate, and sent him a follow request on Twitter. In response, Muel said, "Oh, that's right. Muel didn't respond to me. I mean, he blocked me on Instagram when I tried to follow him there, so that's kind of a response." Now, I don't expect Muel to respond to every single comment he gets on his video. That would take a phenomenally long time. Jesus Christ, they just keep going. But not even taking the time to read any of the criticisms of this video, and instead writing a second essay in the comments calling everyone who disagrees with you a debate nerd who didn't watch the whole video, and then locking all of your socials and going completely radio silent is the YouTuber equivalent of farting in an elevator right before you get off for your floor. He ends his comment by implying that Xander Hall is a coward for not wanting to watch this sad excuse for a takedown on stream, but for some reason seems unwilling to talk to a triple-digit subscriber Andy like me who poses little threat to him. Maybe he saw my following list and, vouch bad. Who knows? What I find funniest about Muel's video is that he repeatedly makes jokes about Xander Hall and his fans expressing their baby's first political opinion, but the idea that cis people can't in any way criticize trans people, nor can white people criticize black people, it's the most white man who just joined the left last week opinion I could possibly think of. Only someone who hasn't had to care about navigating these power structures and has as little stake in their outcome as Muel could possibly think this way. As a trans person, I have a message to cis people, especially cis people who have, or in Muel's case, I guess, had, an audience. Criticize Blair White. I'm serious. Criticize Blair White. It's not just something that's not bad to do. It's a moral imperative. If you cared about trans people at all, you would tell people like Blair White and Buck Angel to shut up and fuck off when they trot out the same transphobic rhetoric that you would yell at a cis creator for. When Blair White says shit like this,
one of these things is not like the other.
Which one stands out, bitch?
You. Just kidding.
Yeah, how is someone gonna take me seriously if this person's going around meeting people and telling them, oh, hi, I'm trans? What are they gonna think about us?
That's the biggest thing for me, is that not like, because like, listen, you can call yourself whatever you want. The biggest thing to me is that like this person is paraded around in the media and has a following as a trans person, like, and this person will get picked before you and I for anything. This person will get casted. This person will be able to go and do huge conferences and speak about trans people, and as if they really know. And for me,
as if they've been through anything that we've actually been through.
Anything.
Why the fuck do you think your place in this fight is to be silent? As a cis person, you are the political bloc that has actual power. You are the demographic that controls the conversation. What you talk about is subject to a hell of a lot more good faith than some random 100 follower trans person on Twitter like myself would have. It's wild to me that a leftist could come up with this line of thinking when helping those who can't help themselves is a core leftist ideal. So much of leftist thought revolves around the fact that in our current society, there are demographics that don't have any political power. Children, people with disabilities, undocumented immigrants. These are just some of the extremely disenfranchised groups that leftists fight for every single day. But Muel seems to be more interested in letting people scream about grooming and dog whistle about suicide rates as long as they themselves are trans while doing it. It's unbelievable to me that this is what passes for leftist thought in some spaces. This goes for black conservatives too. When Candace Owens says shit like this,
think about it. What today are certain areas of Chicago, Baltimore, Detroit, St. Louis, Atlanta, Milwaukee, and Philadelphia, all run for decades by Democrats, but virtual plantations?
It's our duty as leftists, no matter our race, to call that shit out as the fascist rhetoric that it is. To assert otherwise is cowardice and admittance that you heard listen to black people and immediately turned off your brain and stopped thinking any further about any of these issues. Stop making trans and black people do the work for you, Deej. You're looking really colonialist right now. Listening to minorities isn't enough, because as we can see,
as if they really know, and for me,
as if they've been through anything that we've actually been
anything.
Virtual plantations.
Minorities can be really fucking wrong. Being subject to oppressive systems gives oppressed groups an intimate, first-hand experience with those systems. What it doesn't give, despite what people like Muel seem to believe, is a perfect and objective view of those systems. It's normal, common even, to see people from minority demographics act reactively antagonistically towards people from the majority demographic. I've met more than my fair share of trans people who hate, actively venom-spitting hate cis people by default, except for a few good ones that they keep at arm's length. There are people who are ostensibly part of the left and definitely part of Muel's social circle who have argued in favor of non-white ethnostates, as well as those ethnostates having the right to remove white people from their borders.
My point is that the people who colonize those people, if the people who are there and they live in their own country don't want to live with people who are colonized, they should have the right to determine if they want to live with those people or not.
For those who don't understand what Professor Flowers is trying to say here, when she says
they should have the right to determine if they want to live with those people or not,
what she means is colonized countries have the right to remove any descendants of their colonizers based on their race from their country, regardless of whether or not they're a citizen or how long they've lived in that country. And even though this self-determination bullshit is just a pal-swap version of the exact arguments that Nazis and white nationalists use, DJMuel and others like him take it as gospel because it's coming from the mouth of a black woman. As a leftist and an ally, you should be centering the voices of the people who are affected by these issues. But you can't take it as the undisputed proof until someone else comes by with their same list of oppressions and debunks them for you. It's cowardly and it's lazy. I hope Muel and everyone on the left who thinks this way realizes that when they say that it's not their place to criticize someone based on their identity, they're consigning queer people, trans people, people of color, disabled people whoever it is that is being hurt by this bad faith actor to fight on their own without the help of the dominant power group. If random leftist trans people on Twitter are the only defense against the arguments made by Blair White, a woman who is propped up by millionaires and billionaires in order to astroturf an audience around her, we're fucked. We've already lost. She has more visibility than almost any other trans person on earth, and if we don't have cis allies telling her to shut the fuck up, then that's going to be the only image that we get of trans people, is either the people she's talking about vilifying all other trans people, or her, the good model trans person who just so happens to hate other trans people. Dangerous idiots like Blair and Candace are being propped up by the right in order to appeal to a more centrist and independent crowd, and also being used as a cudgel to beat down the demographics on the left that they want to be beating down. But let's not forget, Muel doesn't actually care about bringing people over to the left. Muel cares about the left as an aesthetic, to the point where he's unironically used a fake Lenin quote to prove a point.
Why should we bother to reply to Kautsky? He would reply to us, and we would have to reply to his reply. There's no end to that. It will be quite enough for us to announce that Kautsky is a traitor to the working class, and everyone will understand everything.
The left, to him, is a social club with red flags on the walls. Keep it insular, keep it small. That way you know everyone, or close to it, and you can all give yourselves a celebratory wank when you exclude another potential ally because they said something you don't like. 5 years ago. I know I said I wasn't going to discuss Xander Hall's stuff in this video because I don't know him. And I'm not, because I don't. But I do find it very strange that Muel is so willing to forgive Bad Bunny for being openly racist and biphobic on stream more recently than Xander Hall's video about getting out of the alt-right pipeline. His reason for this is that he claims this was in the past and she wouldn't dream of doing it ever again. Yet he mocks Xan for his video, snidely congratulating him on doing the bare minimum by getting out of the alt-right pipeline and not being a fascist anymore. Does Muel only believe in rehabilitative justice when it's about friends that he definitely wishes were friends with benefits? In conclusion, DJMuel is a coward. He's a coward who's either unable or unwilling to form his own ideas about minority issues, either because he hasn't put in the time or effort to think about them, or because he's scared that his hypercritical, hyper-exclusionary group of friends will reject him. He accuses his detractors of mindlessly following their debate daddy's bad faith arguments. But when Candace Owens says something as ridiculous as the modern black Democrat is enslaved by the DNC, or Blair White calls other trans people groomers and pedophiles, his only response is, as a privileged person, it's not my place to speak up. Dude, yes the fuck it is. Use your platform for something worthwhile instead of using it to make fun of an abuse victim for suffering abuse. Oh, and Deej, if you're still watching this and you disagree with anything I said here, I'm a disabled trans lesbian and therefore have more oppression tokens than you, so you can't say I'm wrong. Goodbye.